For more than 3,000 years, Queen Hatshepsut remained one of the most fascinating and mysterious rulers of ancient Egypt. She was not just a queen, but a woman who took the full title and power of a pharaoh in a world where kingship was believed to belong only to men. Historians admired her temples, statues, and inscriptions, yet many parts of her life were hidden or erased after her death. One of the greatest mysteries was the location of her mummy. Unlike many other pharaohs of the New Kingdom, whose bodies were found wrapped in linen and gold, Hatshepsut's physical remains were missing. This absence left historians with unanswered questions. How did she die? What illnesses did she suffer from? Was her death natural, or was there betrayal involved? For centuries, answers remained locked away in the sands of Egypt. Everything began to change when modern science entered the story. Advances in DNA testing, CT scanning, and forensic medicine allowed researchers to examine ancient remains in ways never before possible. When scientists finally analyzed DNA believed to belong to Hatshepsut, they uncovered facts that reshaped her story. These discoveries did not turn her into a villain or a victim of murder, as some legends suggested. Instead, they revealed a deeply human story of power, ambition, health, and tragedy. The findings showed how even the greatest rulers were vulnerable to disease, daily habits, and the limits of ancient medicine. Hatshepsut's DNA did more than confirm her identity. It opened a window into her body, her suffering, and the final years of her life. Through the scientific journey, history moved closer to the woman behind the royal titles, revealing a ruler who was both extraordinary and fragile at the same time. Queen Hatshepsut was born around 1507 BC into the powerful royal family of Egypt's 18th dynasty. She was the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I and his chief wife Ahmose, giving her strong royal and religious status from birth. From an early age, she was trained in religion, politics, and administration, areas usually reserved for men. This education prepared her for leadership, though few could have imagined she would one day rule as pharaoh. After her father's death, Hatshepsut married her half-brother Thutmose II, following royal custom meant to keep divine bloodlines pure. Their marriage produced a daughter, Neferur, but no male heir. When Thutmose II died young, the throne passed to his son Thutmose III, born to a secondary wife. Because the boy was still a child, Hatshepsut became regent, ruling on his behalf. At first, she followed tradition, acting as caretaker of the throne. Over time, however, her authority grew. With support from powerful priests of the god Ammonius and loyal officials, she made an unprecedented move. She declared herself pharaoh. This decision shocked Egyptian society, which believed kingship was male and divinely ordained. To legitimize her rule, Hatshepsut used religion, art, and symbolism. She claimed divine birth, stating that Ammonius himself was her father. She wore the traditional male regalia of a pharaoh, including the false beard and royal kilt. Her reign lasted around 20 years and became a time of peace, trade, and grand building projects. Temples flourished, the economy grew, and Egypt avoided major wars. Hatshepsut proved that leadership was based on wisdom and vision, not gender. Yet her bold rule also planted the seeds for future attempts to erase her from history. After Queen Hatshepsut's death, Egypt's political landscape changed dramatically. Thutmose III eventually took full control of the throne, and years later, a strange campaign began. Hatshepsut's statues were smashed, her images carved out temple walls, and her name removed from king lists. For a long time, historians believed this was an act of revenge or hatred. Modern scholars now think it may have been a political decision aimed at restoring the traditional male image of kingship. Whatever the reason, the result was clear. Hatshepsut's memory was deliberately buried. One of the most troubling mysteries was the disappearance of her mummy. Her official tomb, KV-20 in the Valley of the Kings, contained empty stone sarcophagi. No body was found. Without her remains, scientists could not study her health, age, or cause of death. For centuries, her physical story was missing. In 1903, archaeologist Howard Carter discovered a small tomb known as KV-60. Inside were two female mummies. One belonged to Hatshepsut's royal nurse, identified by inscriptions. The second mummy lay unwrapped on the floor, with no markings or signs of royal status. Carter recorded the find and moved on, unaware of its importance. For decades, this unidentified mummy was ignored and assumed to be someone unimportant. Meanwhile, Hatshepsut's missing body became one of Egyptologists' greatest puzzles. Some believed her mummy was destroyed. Others thought priests hid it to protect it from enemies. The truth would remain hidden for more than 100 years. Only when modern technology returned to KV-60 did the forgotten mummy begin to reveal its secrets. In 2007, a major breakthrough occurred when Egyptian authorities launched a new investigation into Hatshepsut's missing mummy. Led by experts in archaeology, forensics, and genetics, the project aimed to apply modern science to ancient remains. The two mummies from tomb KV-60 were carefully re-examined using CT scans, which allowed scientists to see inside the bodies without damaging them. One mummy was quickly confirmed as the royal nurse. The second remained unidentified, but new clues began to appear. Researchers noticed signs that suggested the woman had lived a royal life, including the way her body had been treated during mummification. The most important discovery came from an unexpected object stored in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. A small wooden box bearing Hatshepsut's royal name contained a single human tooth. This tooth had been kept for centuries without a clear purpose. Scientists compared the tooth to CT scans of the unidentified mummy's jaw. The match was astonishing. The tooth fit perfectly into a missing socket in the mummy's mouth. The size, shape, and broken root aligned exactly. This was strong physical evidence linking the mummy to Hatshepsut. While the tooth alone could not prove identity beyond doubt, it provided a powerful lead. The discovery captured worldwide attention and set the stage for a deeper scientific investigation. The next step was DNA testing, a method rarely successful with ancient mummies due to age, heat, and chemical preservation. Still, scientists believe that even damaged genetic material might hold answers. What followed would mark a historic moment in the study of ancient Egypt. Extracting DNA from ancient mummies is extremely difficult. The mummification process used resins, oils, and salts that often destroy genetic material. Over thousands of years, heat, humidity, and bacteria further damaged any remaining DNA. Despite these challenges, scientists focus on mitochondrial DNA, which is passed in maternal line and survives longer than nuclear DNA. Samples were taken under strict sterile conditions to avoid contamination. Multiple laboratories analyzed the material independently to ensure accuracy. The DNA from the KV-60 mummy was compared to genetic material from known royal relatives, including members of Hatshepsut's family line. After months of careful testing, the results showed a clear genetic match. The mitochondrial DNA confirmed that the mummy belonged to the same maternal lineage as Hatshepsut. Combined with the tooth evidence, the conclusion became overwhelming. The unidentified mummy was Queen Hatshepsut herself. This marked the first time DNA analysis had been used to confirm the identity of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. The discovery was celebrated as a triumph of science and history working together. After more than 3,000 years, Hatshepsut's body had been found and identified, yet confirming who she was only raised new questions. What did her body reveal about her health? What illness ended her life? The answers lay hidden within her bones and tissues, waiting to be uncovered. CT scans of Queen Hatshepsut's mummy provided a detailed look at her physical condition at the time of her death. The scans showed that she was likely in her late 40s or early 50s, matching historical estimates. Her bones revealed signs of serious illness. Researchers found evidence of metastatic bone cancer, with damage visible in her spine, pelvis, and legs. This disease would have caused severe pain and weakness, especially in her final years. In addition to cancer, signs of obesity and metabolic disorders were present. These findings suggested that Hatshepsut may have suffered from type 2 diabetes, a condition that affects the body's ability to control blood sugar. For an ancient ruler, this raised questions. Egyptian diets were generally healthy, and royal life involved regular ceremonial activity. However, royal status also meant access to rich foods and luxury items. Illness may have limited her movement in later years, contributing to weight gain and further health problems. The scans showed no clear evidence of violent injury, ruling out assassination. Instead, her body told a story of gradual decline due to disease. These findings change the way historians viewed the end of her reign. Rather than being overthrown, she likely died after a long struggle with illness. Yet the most surprising discovery was still to come, hidden not in her bones, but in a small cosmetic container linked to her daily life. Among the objects associated with Queen Hatshepsut was a small alabaster container believed to have held a cosmetic or medicinal balm. For many years, it was considered a simple beauty item. When scientists analyzed its contents using modern chemical methods, they made a shocking discovery. The balm contained benzopyrene, a substance now known to be highly carcinogenic. Benzopyrene is found in tar, pitch, and certain resins, materials commonly used in ancient treatments for skin conditions. In Hatshepsut's time, there was no understanding of cancer or chemical toxicity. Such balms were believed to heal, protect, and preserve the body. Researchers now believe that Hatshepsut may have used this lotion regularly, possibly to treat a skin condition or as part of her beauty routine. Long-term exposure to benzopyrene could have significantly increased her risk of developing cancer. Combined with her genetic predisposition and metabolic issues, this daily habit may have played a major role in her illness. The tragic irony is clear. A substance meant to preserve her health and appearance may have slowly poisoned her. This finding does not prove the balm alone caused her cancer, but it provides a strong explanation that fits the medical evidence. It also highlights the dangers of ancient medicine, where harmful substances were unknowingly used. Hatshepsut's death was not the result of betrayal, but of chemistry and limited knowledge. Understanding Hatshepsut's health helps explain many events near the end of her reign. As her illness progressed, she may have relied more heavily on advisors and priests. This shift in power could have eased Thutmose III's transition to full rule after her death. His later efforts to erase her memory may have been less about anger and more about restoring traditional order. With the confirmation of her identity and cause of death, historians have been able to reassess her legacy more fairly. Hatshepsut was not a cruel usurper or a weak ruler hiding behind male symbols. She was a skilled leader who understood the political and religious systems of her time. Her use of male regalia was not deception, but strategy. She blended masculine and feminine imagery to present herself as a living balance of order, known as Ma'at. Her reign brought peace, trade, and monumental architecture, including her magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahari. Today, that temple stands as one of Egypt's greatest architectural achievements. The rediscovery of her mummy and DNA evidence has restored her place in history. She is now seen not as an exception, but as a visionary who redefined leadership. Science has given her back the voice that stone inscriptions alone could not preserve. The story of Queen Hatshepsut's DNA discovery shows how modern science can transform our understanding of the past. Through careful analysis, researchers were able to solve mysteries that had endured for centuries. DNA testing, CT scans, and chemical studies turned legends into evidence-based history. More importantly, these discoveries humanized a powerful ruler. Hatshepsut was not just a statue or a name carved into stone. She was a woman who lived, ruled, suffered, and died. Her story reminds us that even the greatest leaders were limited by the knowledge and medicine of their time. It also shows how daily habits, even those meant to protect health, can have unintended consequences. The combination of genetics, environment, and culture shaped her fate. Today, her rediscovered body rests as a bridge between ancient and modern worlds. Through her DNA, she speaks again, telling a story of ambition, resilience, and tragedy. As science continues to advance, more ancient mysteries may be solved. But few will be as powerful as the moment when a forgotten mummy, lying on a tomb floor for centuries, was revealed to be one of Egypt's greatest rulers. Queen Hatshepsut's legacy is no longer hidden. It lives on through temples, history books, and the silent testimony of her own genes. The discovery of Queen Hatshepsut's mummy and the analysis of her DNA did more than solve an ancient mystery. It offered powerful lessons that still matter in the modern world. One of the most important lessons is how science can challenge long-held assumptions. For generations, historians relied only on texts, statues, and temple reliefs to understand the past. These sources were valuable, but they were also shaped by politics, power, and human bias. Hatshepsut's enemies deliberately tried to erase her memory, and for centuries, that attempt partly succeeded. Modern forensic science gave historians a new kind of evidence, one that could not be easily altered or destroyed. DNA, bones, and chemical traces told a story that stone carvings could not fully hide. Through this evidence, scholars were able to confirm her identity, understand her health, and reconsider her final years with greater accuracy. Another lesson lies in the dangers of limited medical knowledge. Hatshepsut lived in a civilization advanced for its time, yet even Egypt's skilled healers could not understand the hidden risks of certain substances. The balm she likely used was meant to heal and protect, but it may have contributed to her death. This reminds modern audiences that scientific progress is gradual and that treatments once believed to be safe can later be proven harmful. The story also highlights the human cost of leadership. Hatshepsut ruled one of the most powerful civilizations on Earth, yet she suffered silently from disease and pain. Her power did not protect her from illness or mortality. In this way, her DNA bridges a gap between past and present, showing that ancient rulers face struggles familiar to people today. Finally, her rediscovered story challenges ideas about gender and leadership. Hatshepsut's success proves that ability, intelligence, and vision matter more than tradition or appearance. By reclaiming her identity through science, history has restored not only a forgotten pharaoh, but also a powerful example of human resilience. Her DNA did not just reveal how she died, it revealed why her life still matters. The journey of Queen Hatshepsut from a forgotten mummy on a tomb floor to a fully recognized pharaoh, restored by science, is one of the most remarkable stories in modern archaeology. For centuries, her legacy survived only in fragments, broken statues, damaged inscriptions, and scattered monuments. Many historians once viewed her rule with suspicion, influenced by the actions of those who tried to erase her name after her death. Without her body, these doubts lingered, leaving space for myths, exaggerations, and misunderstandings. The rediscovery and identification of her mummy changed everything. When scientists confirmed her identity through DNA, dental evidence, and advanced imaging, Hatshepsut was no longer a shadowy figure shaped by political enemies. She became a real person again, with a body that carried the marks of age, illness, and lived experience. This transformation from legend to individual allowed historians to approach her reign with renewed honesty. Her accomplishments could now be evaluated alongside her physical struggles, revealing a ruler who governed during pain and declining health yet still maintained stability and prosperity. This realization deepened respect for her leadership rather than diminishing it. The discovery also reshaped public interest in ancient Egypt. Millions around the world followed the story, fascinated by how modern tools could uncover truths hidden for thousands of years. Museums, documentaries, and books began to present Hatshepsut not as an anomaly, but as one of Egypt's most capable rulers. Her temple at Deir el-Bahari gained renewed attention, seen not only as an architectural marvel, but as a symbol of her vision and confidence. The identification of her mummy also restored dignity to her burial. No longer an unnamed body, she was recognized as a queen who deserved remembrance. In a deeper sense, Hatshepsut achieved a form of immortality greater than stone monuments. Her DNA ensured that her identity could never again be erased. Through science, history, and storytelling, her voice continues to echo across time, reminding humanity that truth, though buried, can always be uncovered. Queen Hatshepsut's story continues to resonate today because it speaks to timeless human themes of identity, power, truth, and remembrance. In many ways, her life mirrors modern struggles faced by leaders and individuals who challenge traditional roles. She ruled in a world that was not ready to accept a woman as pharaoh, yet she adapted without surrendering her authority. The discovery of her DNA adds a deeply human layer to this narrative. It reminds us that behind every title and monument is a living person with fears, hopes, and physical limits. Her health problems, revealed through scientific study, show that even the most powerful figures are vulnerable. This understanding creates empathy across thousands of years, allowing modern audiences to connect with an ancient ruler not as a distant symbol, but as a relatable human being. Her story also highlights the importance of evidence-based truth. For centuries, her image was shaped by those who wanted her forgotten. Modern science acted as a corrective force, restoring balance to historical memory. This is especially meaningful in an age where misinformation can spread quickly. Hatshepsut's rediscovery proves that careful research, patience, and technology can challenge false narratives. Another reason her story remains powerful is its impact on how history is taught and understood. She is now presented not as a footnote, but as a central figure who expanded trade, strengthened borders, and left behind some of Egypt's most impressive architecture. Her reign is increasingly used as an example of effective leadership built on diplomacy and planning rather than constant warfare. Finally, her journey from erased ruler to restored queen offers hope. It suggests that truth has endurance, even when suppressed. Hatshepsut may have lost her voice after death, but time, science, and curiosity gave it back. Her DNA did more than identify her body. It ensured that her story would continue to inspire future generations to question, learn, and remember. The ongoing study of Queen Hatshepsut's remains also points toward the future of how ancient history will be understood and preserved. Her case has become a model for how science and history can work together rather than competing with one another. In the past, archaeology depended heavily on excavation and interpretation, which often left room for debate and disagreement. Today, tools such as DNA analysis, CT scanning, and chemical testing allow researchers to ask new questions and verify old theories. In Hatshepsut's case, these methods help confirm her identity, reveal her health conditions, and even suggest possible causes of death. This approach is now being applied to other ancient figures, opening the door to discoveries that once seemed impossible. As technology continues to improve, future researchers may be able to learn even more from remains already discovered, without disturbing them further. This is especially important in Egypt, where respect for the dead and preservation of heritage are major concerns. Hatshepsut's story also raises important questions about how societies choose to remember their leaders. Her deliberate erasure shows that history is not always written to reflect truth, but power. The recovery of her identity demonstrates that memory can be restored, even after great effort to destroy it. This idea has meaning far beyond ancient Egypt. Around the world, many stories have been lost, ignored, or rewritten. Hatshepsut's rediscovery encourages historians to re-examine the past with fresh eyes and modern tools. It reminds us that silence in historical records does not always mean absence. Sometimes it means suppression. Finally, her case highlights the responsibility that comes with knowledge. As science uncovers more truths, scholars must share them carefully and honestly, avoiding sensationalism while still engaging public interest. Queen Hatshepsut's DNA did not simply unlock a mystery. It created a bridge between ancient lives and modern minds, ensuring that the past remains a living conversation rather than a closed chapter. Beyond science, politics, and monuments, the story of Queen Hatshepsut ultimately draws power from its deeply human elements. When modern researchers examine her remains, they were not just studying a ruler, but a woman who lived, aged, and suffered like anyone else. Evidence of joint pain, dental problems, and chronic illness paints a picture of daily discomfort that followed her even as she sat on the throne of Egypt. These findings challenge the common image of ancient rulers as distant, godlike figures untouched by ordinary struggles. Instead, Hatshepsut appears as a leader who carried physical pain while continuing to govern a vast empire. This humanization makes her achievements even more remarkable. Leading armies, managing trade routes, and overseeing massive building projects required energy, focus, and resilience. Doing so, while facing declining health, suggests a level of determination that is easy to overlook when history focuses only on titles and victories. Her personal life, though largely hidden from records, can also be glimpsed through these discoveries. The care taken with her burial, the use of balms and perfumes, and the effort to preserve her body reflect concerns about dignity, identity, and the afterlife. These were not abstract beliefs, but deeply personal hopes shared by millions of ancient Egyptians. Hatshepsut's story reminds modern audiences that history is built from individual lives, not just events. Every statue carved and every inscription written was connected to real people with emotions and fears. By studying her DNA and remains, scientists have restored that sense of humanity to a figure once reduced to mystery. In doing so, they have shown that the past becomes more meaningful when we remember that its heroes and rulers were, above all, human beings. The confirmation of Queen Hatshepsut's identity through scientific analysis marked a turning point in the field of Egyptology. Before this discovery, many debates about her life were based largely on interpretation and speculation. Scholars argued over whether she was truly accepted as pharaoh, how powerful she really was, and how her reign ended. The identification of her mummy provided a solid foundation that allowed these debates to move forward with greater clarity. Physical evidence gave historians a fixed point around which written records and archaeological findings could be reevaluated. This shift encouraged a more cautious and evidence-based approach to studying other disputed figures from ancient Egypt. Egyptologists began to combine traditional methods, such as studying inscriptions and art styles, with modern scientific tools. As a result, the field became more interdisciplinary than ever before. Hatshepsut's case also influenced how museums present ancient history to the public. Instead of displaying artifacts as isolated objects, many institutions now focus on telling complete human stories. Exhibitions about Hatshepsut increasingly highlight her life journey, health, and political challenges, helping visitors connect emotionally with the past. This approach has proven effective in making ancient history more accessible and engaging. The rediscovery also encouraged greater respect for overlooked rulers, especially women. Hatshepsut's success prompted scholars to re-examine the roles of other royal women who may have exercised power quietly or temporarily. In this way, her DNA discovery did not just restore one queen's identity. It reshaped how an entire academic field asks questions, evaluates evidence, and tells stories about the ancient world. Queen Hatshepsut's story also reveals how power is closely tied to image and memory, both in ancient times and today. During her reign, she carefully shaped how she was seen by her people. Statues showed her wearing the traditional pharaoh's beard, and inscriptions refer to her using male royal titles. These choices were not attempts to hide who she was, but strategic decisions meant to protect stability in a society that expected male leadership. For years, this carefully constructed image worked. Egypt remained peaceful, trade flourished, and large building projects moved forward. However, after her death, the control over her image was taken away. Those who followed her, likely led by Thutmose III, began a campaign to remove her name and likeness from temples and monuments. This was not random destruction. It was a deliberate effort to rewrite history and reinforce traditional ideas of kingship. By attacking her memory, her successors hoped to weaken her legacy. Yet, the attempt was never fully successful. Too many monuments remained, and too many records survived. The later discovery of her mummy and DNA completed what those monuments began. Science restored what politics tried to erase. This struggle over memory shows that history is often a battlefield, shaped by those with the power to tell the story. Hatshepsut's return to prominence demonstrates that image control has limits. Physical evidence, time, and curiosity can challenge even the most carefully planned erasures. Her story encourages modern audiences to question historical narratives and consider whose voices may be missing. It also serves as a reminder that truth does not always disappear when suppressed. Sometimes it waits to be rediscovered.